Welcome back to another edition of Fly Tying for Beginners with Jim Misiura. Today we're going to tie a bleached belly pheasant tail nymph. The hook I have in the vise is a Lively Legs lip splitter fly hook. This is a size 12. This is a bronze hook. This is a nymph down eye, 3 extra long, 1 extra strong bronze hook. I have a 3mm black tungsten bead on the hook. The bead is optional. You can just add lead-free wire to the hook shank if you don't like to use the beads. I'm using a 12/0 thread, and this is a brown, light brown, or dark tan. Going to take the thread back to the back. Make sure you keep your thread at that 45-degree angle and tight. Have it wrapped around my finger. And you'll get nice touching your turns. When we get to the bend of the hook, we're going to break that off. Now, we're going to use pheasant tail center. This is natural color. And going to use this section here. I'm taking about 1/4 of an inch, maybe 10 or 12. And we're going to use this for the tail. Try to keep them all together there. Keep the tips aligned. And we're going to want this tail to be about half the length of the hook shank. Going to tie it in long first. I'm going to give it a couple of wraps right there. 3 or 4. Now we can pull this to length. And there's about half the hook shank. These two are sticking together still. I'm going to pull them apart. There we go. And depending on the length of your tail section that you took, you can use that to wrap, or sometimes if it's too short you have to wrap your abdomen with a separate piece. But I think this is going to work. I fold that back and tie that down. Going to put in a rib, and for my rib I have extra fine copper wire. Going to tie that in right at the same place, and then we're going to take our thread forward. Try to eliminate that little bit of hump you're going to have there if you brought your thread or your tail back. Kind of have a step right there. It's going to give it a few wraps. Can't see it real well on the camera, but then we're going to bring that thread up to where the thorax will begin. Going to take my hackle pliers and put it on that tail. Going to turn this one turn. We're going to wrap the tail, or wrap the abdomen. Going to extend, pull those hackle pliers back there just a little bit so I can get that little bit more out of it that I need. And then I'm going to tie that in. The bleached belly is a good fly to use when you're fishing. Turn over rocks and look at the mayflies and look at their belly. You'll see that there are 2 distinct different colors. The bellies are usually a lighter color. Just going to clean that up there a little bit. I'm going to take my rib and I'm going to counter wrap that, being the opposite direction I wrapped the pheasant tail. And this secures the pheasant tail, besides adding just a little bit of flash or rib. We're going to give that a couple of wraps to get that secured. And then the extra fine wire just breaks right off. Now for our wing case and legs, we're going to use the same pheasant tail center. I'm going to take about a ½ inch off the tail, off the stem. I'm going to kind of try to stand them up at a 90-degree angle just to get those tips aligned. Then pull them all off at once. And then your tips are aligned there. Now I'm going to move my thread forward there a little bit. Actually, all the way to the bead. And I'm going to let the tips hang off the front, and that's going to be the length of the legs. Just going to tie them in, and you can see they're already starting to stand up and separate. They kind of rolled to the opposite side, so I'm just going to give them a little help evening out there. And then we'll bring our thread back to the abdomen. Now for the belly, I'm going to use Bleached Beaver. And you don't need to use Bleached Beaver. You can use just a cream color dubbing, some kind of a rabbit blend, something that'll give you some depth, and something that you could tease out with your dubbing teaser a little bit. And this bleached beaver here, I don't have it chopped up too well or separated and teased properly. So I kind of have chunks. I have to actually give it a little bit more attention. I'm going to put some more on there. You want a nice fat thorax. Not real fat. Remember, when you're dubbing, you could always add more, like I'm doing here. And I think this might have got a little bit dark because I licked my fingers, but it'll dry out, or actually, that will actually give you more of the color it's going to be when it gets wet. Now I bring my thread up to the front, and I'm going to divide those legs. Just kind of give them a figure 8. Try to get them to the side instead of just divided and standing up. Want to keep them on the sides more. Going to push them both down there, and I'm going to come back on them just a little bit. There we have the legs divided. Going to take the wing case. We're going to fold that over. And we're going to tie that in. And we're going to adjust those legs as we need it. See, it kind of pulled that leg there a little bit. I grab them and pull them back into place. There we go. Going to put a few wraps in front and trim off the wing case. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of dumbing on my thread just to hide the threads next to the bead. I'm not going to use the light dubbing though. I'm going to use a darker dubbing, just something that will match the pheasant tail a little bit. Just a brown, something to that effect. Going to give it a whip finish. Tighten that up and trim off that thread. I got a little clump there. I'm going to trim that off. Going to take a little bit of head cement. Put it right on there. Put some on your wing case. And the last thing to do, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to pick out some of that belly. That long guard hair out of there. Just a little bit, just to make it look a little bit fuller. And here we have a bleached belly pheasant tail nymph. Hope that you learned something from this video. Hope that you would subscribe to my channel. Please refer me to your friends. Leave comments, questions, suggestions. Please visit my sponsors. And most of all, thank you very much for watching my videos.